Hey everybody, got something a little different for you today. Now, I've been kicking around this video idea for quite some time, and I finally got a chance to shoot it. I was watching Fluff's channel the other day, and he named off his top 3 music movies, and that prompted me to get this written down. Now, bear in mind, I'm not a film critic. I find film critics to be possibly the most useless human beings to ever waste oxygen on the entire planet. I'm just naming off what I like. Decide for yourself what you like. Here's my top 10 rock and roll movies about fictional bands. Okay, now I am definitely a fan of the cinema, and I have been ever since I can remember. Movies are just a great way to tell a story, and the really great ones can take you out of your everyday experience. I've watched my fair share of rock and roll movies over the years, and here's a list of my 10 favorites. Number 10, Sunset Strip. Now, this came out back in 2000 and featured Nick Stahl as a struggling musician trying to make it on the LA rock scene in the 70s. It also features Jared Leto, and if you're a Sons of Anarchy fan, Tommy Flanagan is cameoed in a rock star type role. The story takes place around the Whiskey A Go-Go and Laurel Canyon. Now, I'm a little disappointed to report that jamming with other guitar players across the canyon as they depict in the movie is pretty much frowned upon these days after spending last summer there. No, I didn't get any noise complaints, but then again, I really didn't want to risk it either. That's kind of a bummer, but the movie is still pretty good. If you got a couple of hours to kill, throw it on, you just might like it. Number 9, The Commitments. I remember renting this out one night in the late 90s because basically all the new releases were gone. Oh, the struggles of the pre-streaming days. Anyway, I'd heard some good things about it, but this movie really surprised me by probably being the greatest film ever made about a soul band in Dublin, Ireland. Yeah, that struck me as a little weird as well. Really? Dublin soul? Don't knock it till you tried it. This movie is fucking great.
Who are your influences?
Joan Baez, Joni Mitchell,
Wings.
The standouts for me have to be Cole Meany as the manager's dad.
It's fucking blasphemy.
And Andrew Strong as the group's vocalist. What a set of pipes on that guy.
I'm gonna be wiping those weeping eyes, yeah.
So if you're bored out of your mind and you have no idea what to watch, see if you can dig this one up on Amazon Prime. The story is great, but the music sequences are outstanding. Number 8, That Thing You Do. Now, I don't know how the hell Tom Hanks managed to make a movie nearly 2 hours long that only featured one song. But he did pull it off brilliantly. This came out way back in 1996 and was the story of the rise and fall of a one-hit wonder band, The Wonders. There's some really great performances from Tom Everett Scott, Liv Tyler, Steve Zahn, and of course Tom Hanks as the group's manager. And it's got a pretty interesting subplot about what happens when your band signs a shitty record contract. Hit record or not, they own your ass.
I quit.
Who would have thought that nearly 50 plus years later, the record companies would still be screwing bands over? Here's a helpful hint if you're a musician. If a label offers you a 360 deal, run away! Because you're gonna get fucked harder than the Wonders did by the label in that movie. Number 7, Almost Famous. Mid-level rock band goes out on the road with teenage rock journalist writing for Rolling Stone magazine. There's a tension-filled dynamic between the lead vocalist played by Jason Lee and the guitarist played by Billy Crudup.
I am a golden god! Yeah!
This is one of those movies I can watch again and again. Kate Hudson is simply amazing as the groupie Penny Lane, and it's a great story about being in a band, working together day in and day out, and not killing each other.
And let me just say what nobody else wants to say to you. Your looks have become a problem.
Music's not half bad either. I really enjoyed this movie. Number 6, Airheads. It's pretty crazy to reflect on the fact that the entire premise for this movie would be pointless today. Metal band The Lone Rangers wants to be heard. They can't get signed, they can't get airplay. So they break into a radio station, take everybody hostage, and the demo tape gets destroyed before they can play it. Eventually, the track is finally played at the movie's climax. But I'm not going to give anything away because I hate spoilers. Suffice to say, the band is made up of Brendan Fraser, Steve Buscemi, and Adam Sandler, all who went on to have amazing movie careers. Now, this movie's a whole lot of fun.
What side are you taking to big David Lee Roth Van Halen split?
Van Halen. He's a cop.
There's a lot of memorable one-liners, and there's even a cameo from Lemmy. So if you're willing to suspend disbelief for a couple of hours and forget the fact that every band on earth can now upload a song to YouTube, this movie isn't half bad at all. Number 5, Rockstar. Now, this was originally going to be titled Metal God and based on the real-life story of Tim Owens, a tribute band vocalist who got the job of Judas Priest singer in the late 1990s. But apparently that story wasn't good enough and the writers kept trying to embellish things, so Priest backed out of the project. Now what we got instead was a pretty good flick with a few scenes based on real life events, like when Owens got the gig.
And we all die young.
Unfortunately, there wasn't any Judas Priest music, and we got Marky Mark as the singer.
You gave everybody a backstage pass but me.
Yeah, from the looks of you, I had good reason, right?
Honestly, though, he didn't do a half-bad job at the lip-syncing, and the cast was pretty good, and the band Steel Dragon featured Jeff Pilson from Dokken, Jason Bonham on the drums, and Zach Wilde on lead guitar. All in all, not a bad story about finding your own voice. It's definitely worth a watch. Number 4, Still Crazy. 70s rock band Strange Fruit reunites for one last tour. Can they pull it off? Can they find the magic that they once had? It's a great story about burying the hatchet and moving on with your life, and dealing with the fact that no matter how much we don't want it to happen, we're all gonna get older.
I'm not 50.
I think this is the first movie I ever saw with Bill Nighy in it, and his performance really made me sit up and take notice. He does an absolutely amazing job of portraying a once-upon-a-time rock star coming to grips with middle age. The music is really great, and the standout track here has to be Hans Matheson's Live for Today. Now, this movie came out back in '98, and I still throw it on every now and then because it's really entertaining stuff. Definitely check it out. Number 3, Velvet Goldmine. Did you know that Batman, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Dracula all made a movie together back in the 90s about the early 70s glam rock scene in England? Warning, do not watch this with your kids unless you want to answer a bunch of awkward questions. This movie is loosely inspired by the story of David Bowie and Iggy Pop, with Jonathan Rhys-Meyers as the Bowie character and pre-lightsaber Ewan McGregor in the Iggy Pop role. He is absolutely amazing in this movie, and I can't even show you this best scene because it would violate YouTube's community guidelines. Christian Bale plays a newspaper reporter trying to unravel the mystery around the fate of glam rock sensation Brian Slade. And the film takes a deep dive into the whole British glam rock scene, something I knew very little about. And the music is nothing short of spectacular. There's covers of Roxy Music, The Stooges, New York Dolls, and there's originals from Brian Eno and Lou Reed. In fact, this was one of the very few films I've ever went out and bought the soundtrack for, as it turned me on to some really cool bands. Now, this movie isn't historical by any stretch of the imagination. It is clearly fiction, but it's a hell of a story and very haunting. Number 2, this is Spinal Tap. A rock and roll mockumentary that wound up becoming a modern classic. Hippie band Spinal Tap goes heavy metal and tours America promoting the new album Smell the Glove. There's dozens of celebrity cameos, a million one-liners, and a million memorable moments. Amps that go to 11, cricket bats, and of course, Stonehenge.
Daybreak might come too soon.
And apparently, getting lost under the stage really happens. Just ask the guys in Judas Priest.
Hello, Cleveland! Hello, Cleveland!
The music's a lot of fun and features the very first triple bass line in a metal track, Big Bottom.
My love gun's loaded and shit in my sights. Big game is waiting there inside of tights, yeah.
Now, there's a lot of lessons to be learned about life on the road in this movie if you're in an aspiring band. Number 1 being never bring your girlfriend on tour.
You can't fucking concentrate because your fucking wife Simple as that, all right?
If you play music or just enjoy music, you need to see this movie. Number 1, More Bad News. Before there was Spinal Tap, there was Bad News. They had their first film in 1983 with Bad News Tour, but the sequel, More Bad News, is my favorite rock and roll movie ever.
We are the four horsemen of the rock apocalypse, leaders and saviors of the wild ride to oblivion and ecstasy. 1, 2, 3.
Featuring Captain Peavy from the First Order on guitar and vocals and Drop Dead Fred on bass, this is one of the funniest movies ever made.
Up just a touch. Lovely. Okay, we'll try it then.
Follow the story of Bad News reuniting, signing to Frilly Pink Records, and recording the smash hit Warriors of Genghis Khan.
Who's that playing bass?
Who is it?
Then it's off to the Castle of Donington Monsters of Rock Festival to conquer the heavy metal universe. Now, it's only an hour long, but it leaves you wanting more, unlike today's overblown epics that aim to bore you to death like the new Wonder Woman movie. Seriously though, if you're a metal musician, you need to see this film. So that's my list of my top 10 favorite rock and roll movies ever. So what's your favorite rock and roll movie? Leave me a comment below. And if you enjoyed the video, please be sure to hit the subscribe button. And if you want to learn about recording guitars or drums, please hit one of the playlists. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.